Hi friends, Pastor Terry here, Terry Lee, and we are Okotoks Alliance Church. This is Thursday Thoughts with Terry. It is a stunning day here in Okotoks, fresh snow outside. Thought I'd begin while people find us, just give you a little glimpse of some of the beautiful shimmering snow out there. Some of it's starting to melt a little bit with the sunshine, but it's Thursday Thoughts. We celebrated the second Sunday of Advent this past Sunday, and are heading quickly towards Christmas. It's pretty wild. You might appreciate knowing that the new Alberta COVID regulations, restrictions from AHS will have an impact on us as a church family. They have disallowed any in-home meetings, so life groups that have been meeting in homes and that kind of thing are certainly not to be doing that in the home or outside the home, fire pits, that kind of thing. Just not okay for these next 4 weeks as we try to hope and pray that the COVID pandemic comes under control. So those are one of the things. The impact on in-person service will be very minimal for us. We've already been meeting the required regulations, and 15% of our sanctuary capacity is actually 73 people. So that's a cap down from what we were allowing, but it's not in excess of what we've been getting. So if you'd like to join us in person, if you're healthy, come. Wash your hands, distance, wear a mask. Those will be the requirements. Thursday Thoughts, I normally take the opportunity to introduce you to where we're going this coming Sunday. And we're in a series that we're calling Fear Not. And surely in this season of anxiety around the COVID pandemic, there are things that would cause us to fear. Now, I'm not going after those too much in particular. The title of the series really comes from the fact that every time an angel shows up in the scriptures, and especially around the Christmas narrative, they start by saying, look, don't freak out. It's going to be all right. Apparently, it's a scary thing to have an angel appear before you. But then I've been spelling not, K-N-O-T. And we're talking about the knots that kind of mess with our Christmas. First week, we talked about family. The second week, we talked about traditions. This week, we are going to talk about knowledge. And the reality is that we are a people who want to know, want to understand. It's been demonstrated in spades around the COVID inquiries, and we want to know. And I think that's a good thing. It's a God thing. He wants us to understand. He wants us to investigate. He wants us to use the intelligence that He's given us. And yet, for some people, an absence of knowing is a deal breaker. That's the place where there are too many things, too many questions. I can't know for sure. Therefore, I'm going to reject Christian faith. I'm going to reject. Now, here's I think one of the challenges is around Christmas time. It's really in your face. Everywhere you go in our culture, Christmas is there. And so these claims, I mean, there's the superficial, of course, the commercialism, the Santa Claus kinds of things, but you can't get away from the fact that Christmas is there. And then the next question, of course, is, well, where did it come from? And what's it about? And of course, it's about Jesus. And so Jesus, whether you like it or not, is kind of in your face at this time of the year. And what are you going to do with Jesus? And so that's where we're going with this Fear Not series. And this Sunday, as we look at this idea of knowledge and the universe of things that are there for us to know, what do we do when there's a limit to what we can know? I mean, we know exponentially more today than human beings historically have known. And yet, what it really shows is that there's an awful lot we still don't know. The more we learn, the more we discover we don't know. And for some people, that's really frustrating. But let me just draw you to a passage of Scripture. This Sunday, we're going to look at some specific, things that get in the way of people's ability to accept the Christmas message, and try to debunk some of those. We certainly won't get to all of them. But I'm hoping that there's some principles that we'll touch on that are going to be helpful to you. Maybe you're asking questions, and it would be helpful to you. Maybe you've got friends who ask these kinds of questions. Maybe you'll be with, I'll be home for Christmas takes on a whole new meaning this year with the Alberta lockdown and the requirement that our household be together. But maybe online you'll be with friends or family who ask these kinds of questions. James is the brother of Jesus, and he wrote a letter to the churches called the book of James. It's toward the end of our New Testament, Hebrews, James, 1st and 2nd, 3rd John. In chapter 3, verse 13, he writes this: "Who is wise and understanding among you? Let them show it by their good life, by deeds done in humility that comes from wisdom." James likes to use this kind of language in his letter. He draws a very sharp distinction between the wisdom of this world and the wisdom that God invites us to embrace. It's a theme that we actually find in the Old Testament. Hey, Joan, welcome. It's a theme that we find in the Old Testament around the Proverbs, that there is a wisdom that comes from God that is not the wisdom of this world. They're a different animal. They're a different thing. And listen to what James goes on to say in verse 17. James chapter 3, verse 17. "But the wisdom that comes from heaven is first of all pure, then peace-loving, considerate, submissive, full of mercy and good fruit, impartial and sincere. Peacemakers who sow in peace reap a harvest of righteousness." Gives us a little bit of an idea of what we are to look like as followers of Jesus. But this comes from having wisdom that James links to understanding. So we're going to ask some questions around the Bethlehem star. What was up with that? We're going to ask questions around the virgin birth. How are we supposed to think about these things? We're going to ask some questions that around the origins of December 25th as a celebration of Christmas. And then we're going to, with a few answers maybe, then turn and we're going to look at Jesus. Jesus is the author and the perfecter of our faith. And we need to, especially during that which we don't fully know. Paul speaks about that, 1 Corinthians chapter 13. We know in part, we speak in part, but the day will come when we are fully known and we will fully know when we are in the presence of Jesus. Until that day, we are going to be a people who walk with partial knowledge, partial understanding, and then we will be a people who walk by faith, who demonstrate our wisdom and our understanding by the way we live, the humility with which we live, by demonstrating character that is peace-loving and considerate and submissive and full of mercy and good fruit and impartial and sincere. We'll take up the role of peacemaker in the communities that we find ourselves in. And this will be our first assignment. This will be our Represent Jesus assignment. This is where we're going this Sunday. I hope you can be with us. We will go live online at 9:50 a.m. You can find us on Facebook through Okotoks Alliance Church, or you can find us on our website, www.okalliance.ca. And in person, we would ask that you would register in advance, just so we need to, for contact tracing, if that ever became an issue, we need to keep a record. We are the only ones that keep it, unless it's ever needed for contact tracing. Keep it for 2 weeks, that's all. But we ask that you register in advance, and then we will gather. We will greet one another. We will hum along together. We're not going to sing for the sake of one another right now. We will wear masks according to the bylaws, and we will distance with one another. But we will see one another in worship. It's a great experience to be together in this way. Whether you're joining us online or whether you're joining us in person, this is where we're going this coming Sunday. If you're not untangling Christmas, and we're going to specifically chase down this idea of knowledge. When is it enough? And can we add a little to our knowledge and strengthen our faith in so doing? Bless you. Thank you for joining with me for these Thursday Thoughts with Terry. I'm Pastor Terry Lee, and we are Okotoks Alliance Church. Bless you. Have a wonderful day. If we don't speak to one another directly, have a very Merry Christmas. Bye for now.